Ice baths may not be everybody's favorite thing to do, but they're trendy for a reason, and that's because of the many potential benefits. Now, unlike my reviews I do, you're not gonna get to see me hop into an icy plunge today, but I am gonna spend some time talking about those benefits. So let's just go ahead and dive right on in. What's up everybody, it's Jake. Of course I'm back in the BarBend garage gym, and as I just mentioned, I'm not gonna be doing a review today. Instead, I'm gonna be talking about the many benefits of ice baths and cold plunges. Now, before I start doing all that, I just wanna make sure you guys know that we have reviewed a lot of cold plunges on barbend.com, and we do in fact have a best list. So if you wanna check that out, all you gotta do is search BarBend, best cold plunges, and it's gonna pull right up for you. One more thing is that this video actually pairs with an article that I definitely think you should go and read as well. So all you gotta do with that is search BarBend ice bath benefits, and it's gonna pull up. And one last thing here is that I'm not a doctor. So before you do in fact hop into a cold plunge or an ice bath, definitely talk to one. All right, let's get to it. So first thing we gotta talk about is what is an ice bath? And what's an ice bath compared to a cold plunge? Those phrases can technically be used interchangeably, in my opinion. Now with a cold plunge, it's typically with a plunge that has, a chiller on the side of it that regulates the temperature for you, while an ice bath, you're obviously dumping in a whole lot of water and a whole lot of ice, hence the name ice bath. Now, when it comes to this, really what you're looking for temperature-wise is anywhere, in my opinion, from 36 degrees, which is what those chillers can get down to on those very expensive cold plunges, to around 50 degrees. I think if you get closer to 55, you're kind of diminishing the effects that you're gonna receive. So what you wanna do is get that temperature right in that sweet spot. Some people don't want it to be 36 degrees, maybe 40, 45. Kind of just depends on your personal preference, but that's definitely the range. And then depending on the temperature you have is gonna determine, the actual duration of your plunging session, okay? So if it's more on the warmer side, 50 degrees or so, you could probably go 10 minutes. 15 minutes probably is just gonna wanna be the end. And then if you're really getting up to that point and you're getting closer to 20 minutes, the water might not be cold enough and you're probably not getting the actual benefits that you're looking for. Now, if it is around 36 degrees, let's say sub 40, right? Maybe even 40, I would probably just recommend 3 to 5 minutes. That's pretty cold. If you really expose your body to temperatures that low for an extended period of time, you definitely, run into the risk of causing yourself to get sick, and you definitely don't want to get sick, all right? That's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and continue on, and let's talk about how to actually ice bath and cold plunge. Whether you're using a fancy cold plunge, maybe you're using your bathtub at home, maybe you have a plunge that resembles a barrel, maybe you're using a water trough. There's many different ways to utilize cold water immersion in your routine, right? First step though is definitely gonna be to fill up whatever you're using about halfway with water. That way you can hop in it without water overflowing. You definitely don't want that, especially if it's in your bathtub. You don't want that. Now, after that, you really wanna regulate your temperature. So you're obviously using cold water to begin with, and if you're using a fancy cold plunge, this step doesn't really apply to you because you have that chiller on the side regulating everything for you. But if you're using ice, obviously dump in ice, right? Anywhere from 1 to 3 bags. Now, if you are using something outside, especially during the hot months, that's gonna, factor in, and it's going to determine how many bags of ice that you need to use. So definitely be prepared for that. So what you want, as I mentioned, I already talked about the temperature range, but once again, for me, I would recommend, sub 40 to maybe 55 degrees as the max. Definitely have a thermometer on hand, and once the water is where you specifically want it to be and it's something you feel is comfortable for you, definitely want a towel on hand. You definitely want a towel for whenever you get out because you will be cold. This is very cold water. After that, you want to sit in it for, I'd say anywhere from 3 minutes if you're sub 40 specifically, but also don't torture yourself. If you're struggling to go past 3 minutes, go ahead and hop out. And you can kind of, over time, get used to it and increase the amount of time you're in it. The max though, I would recommend is 15 minutes. If you can go that long, you either just love it and it feels great for you, or the water's not warm enough, cold enough. Either way, you're probably at that point not really getting any more benefit from everything. So after you have your target time, obviously sitting there for a little bit, make sure you focus on your breathing, because as soon as you get in, you're definitely gonna get short of breath, heart rate increases a little bit of fight or flight kind of kicks in right there. Just take a deep breath, control it, everything, and just tough it out for a little bit. And that's basically all there is to it. So our team spent a lot of time researching, and we came up with what we believe to be the main benefits of ice baths and cold plunges. Definitely go and check out the article, as I mentioned earlier. Remember, just Google BarBend ice bath benefits, because we do in fact have links to the scientific research and with all these claims that we're referencing and making ourselves. So definitely go and check that out. But the first one is probably pretty obvious for a lot of people, and that's reduced soreness. All right, so cold water, even if you take ice and put it on a sore muscle, it's gonna reduce that overall soreness right there. There's an increase in perceived recovery. That's really interesting. Different studies were done, and it showed that people who were in the ice baths in different ways than other people, definitely go and read all of this, actually felt as if they recovered quicker and overall. So it's kind of like a mental game as well. So definitely go and read that, as I mentioned. There's reduced cardiac stress that could be a factor as well, especially during the hot summer months. And then improving your immune system is another thing as well from being exposed to those colder temperatures. Another one that I think, could be tied into this right here as well is mental toughness, I guess, if you want to call it. People struggling with anxiety and things like that. Whenever you get into a cold plunge, your body technically enters fight or flight mode. Exposing yourself to that and kind of simulating that fight or flight situation, I think it benefits those who have anxiety, because whenever anxious situations occur, your body is technically accustomed to feeling that way. And I think it can help you push through those moments, focusing on your breathing and things of that nature. Now, ice baths and cold plunges are pretty intense, to say the least. So there's definitely some side effects that I want you to be aware of. And the first one is that there's actually some studies that have acknowledged that hopping into a cold plunge immediately after an intense weight training session it may actually have some negative effects in terms of hypertrophy. So definitely remember that. Another one here is regarding your heart rate. Once you get into those really frigid temperatures, jolts your heart rate, and that might not be the best for anybody who has underlying heart issues. Ice baths after weight training and intense exercise in general may actually negatively impact your body's ability to flush lactate after exercising. And then obviously you're on the risk of hypothermia, being exposed to those really cold temperatures, especially if you're sub 40 degrees. That's definitely, something you should be aware of. So be sure to keep at least a towel. It doesn't necessarily have to be warm, but definitely keep a towel on hand to warm yourself up afterwards. As I mentioned earlier, guys, I'm not a doctor, so definitely speak to a licensed healthcare professional before you do anything as intense as this activity right here. All right, well, that's all I got for y'all today on how to properly ice bath. Yes, it takes some time to get used to this frigid activity, but the benefits are definitely there in my opinion, and I've experienced a lot of them. Specifically, mental clarity, my mental health. I can tell on days I plunge versus days I don't plunge, just my preparedness for the rest of the day and everything that's gonna come my way. Thanks for watching, y'all. I hope this video was helpful and I was able to tell you everything there really is to know about ice baths. As always, stay posted for my next video, but for now, head over to barbend.com, because once again, we do have an article that pairs with this video. All you gotta do is search BarBend ice bath benefits and it's gonna pull right up for you. I'll catch y'all next time.